Welcome to the Hangin Banners podcast with your host, Tyler Witt.
How about this block here by Tyler Witt? You're going to see him get out in front, and he's going to get a key block that springs this play.
Jack Coachman.
And here he is, having the time of his life.
And Ryan Sartori.
He may be short, but he's thick.
That's thick with two C's.
Welcome back. Hangin Banners, episode 9. This is a podcast that features me, Ryan Sartori, and my buddies, Jack Coachman and Tyler Witt. But if you're watching, there is no Tyler Witt today. It is just the two of us. Just the two of us. Me and Jack Coachman with you today. Tyler Witt is actually on a plane right now. He is headed to Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, for the Grey Cup with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
You know, that's actually like CFL championship. That's a big deal. So congratulations to him and the team, even just for making it this far. But on the scale of how cool of an award it is to how cool it sounds, Grey Cup is about as boring sound as it could be. But it's like, no, this is a big deal. Like, this is one of the most prominent trophies in North American sports. So this is huge.
It totally is. I mean, it's the hunk of metal. Remember, Commissioner Baseball Rob Manfred called the Commissioner's Trophy a hunk of metal. It's the hunk of metal and then the Grey Cup, right? In terms of names for a trophy. But no, we certainly wish Tyler and the Blue Bombers luck. At some point this episode, he is going to check in with us. Either jumping in this call or just sending us a video later, and I will edit it in. Either way, we'll see Tyler later on with a quick check-in from Regina, which I promise you can say live on the air, podcast or not. You can say Regina. Jack, say it.
Yeah, Regina. I mean, that's the city. There's no issue with that. It's it would be based in Latin for queen, right? I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's regal. It's
hell if I know.
Yeah. Okay, so shout out the queen too.
So I think there's shout out the queen.
But she's
Isn't
not
that
here
how we
anymore.
started our first episode?
Yeah,
Isn't
I
that in the
think
first
so. I
episode?
think the queen was. So it's
rip
like
the
we're back.
queen.
We're back with the queen again. She's not here, but we're still here.
Everything's full circle.
Yeah.
The only way to do this, and it feels weird doing it without Tyler, is just to jump right in. And so let's just do it. Count your wins is first. And I've got kind of a twofer. I'll fill the time that we have for not having Tyler. Number one on my list of wins this week, and this is like a best of segment, is this might be the greatest job description of all time. Obviously, we know in baseball, closers will sometimes most of the time, trot in from the bullpen, but sometimes some very progressive baseball teams will have a golf cart of sorts escort them to the mound. They do it in Arizona, and now the Washington Nationals are hiring a bullpen cart driver part-time for the 2023 baseball season. They're calling it the Brigade. That's the name of the cart. The Brigade.
That's nothing clever about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motorcade.
Oops. I was like, the Brigade. I don't even know what that means.
I got the ADE. I got the aid part right.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, now to be fair, I guess a motorcade makes a lot more sense, but I'm pretty sure a motorcade is when it's like a bunch of cars, right? Like when the president goes somewhere and it's like 30 cars, or like a funeral procession is a motorcade. I don't know how it's just one dude.
Maybe it's like a bunch of. Maybe it's like a train of golf carts. Just the one
just the
pulls.
closer.
Maybe no. This isn't just the closer. This is all the relief pitchers.
Oh, anybody
so
who comes to
dude
the
that you've
bullpen,
never heard of from AAA that just is getting a shot. He gets to ride it the same way that your closer gets to ride it. So it says our bullpen cart drivers, also known as motorcade drivers, are responsible for driving the bullpen cart around the distance of the warning track during pitching changes. The ideal candidate will have a stellar driving record and knowledge of the game of baseball. The drive the bullpen cart around the warning track during the games. This is all the essential duties and responsibilities. Pick up and drop off players from the bullpen to the dugout if they decide to ride the cart.
Oh, they could still walk. They can
elect not to. That's right. Ensure the bullpen cart is clean and that the battery is fully charged upon arrival. Stage the bullpen cart in place so that it is ready to be used when a pitching change is made. So on and so forth. Eventually, they say that the requirements for the job are a high school diploma or GED. You must have a valid driver's license and at least 10 years of driving experience. There it is. There it is.
Oh,
I think
thanks.
that
I'm actually, I don't think I'm qualified.
I wouldn't be able to drive it either. I thought it was
No.
kind of silly.
Well, I guess you do want to make sure that it's like a driver. I wonder how many applicants do you think there's going to be for this position? I'd have to imagine it's hundreds approaching the low thousands.
I would say that's probably a good estimate. They're going to sort through a bunch of them, but I
It's
think
like anyone could do this as long as you're over the age of like 26 or 27 and you have heard of baseball.
totally. But I think that it's funny that the next line after they say they want 10 years of driving experience is that you must be at least 18 years old.
Oh my gosh. So if you like technically were some kid who grew up on, your family farm driving the like tractors around, you could be 18 and be like, I've been driving since I was, 8 years old. They'd be like, oh, now you also have to be at least 19.
This is my dream. Please let me, the 18-year-old from Podunk, Virginia, or Maryland. Please let me be the motorcade driver. Absolutely not. You're out. You're out.
Does the motorcade driver get creative license? Like, can they get like custom rims, leather seats? Like, can they deck this thing out? Because at this point, what you are is you're a private, probably paid not as well Uber driver, right?
Do you think they can unionize?
It's one person.
I know, but like, do you think he could join like a larger union? There's got to be like a livery, livery
does this
service.
technically fall under
union.
Teamsters?
It might. It might. It
Show up to
doesn't
the
say
union
anything- it
meeting
doesn't
like,
say anything
oh,
about
so
it.
who do you work for? Like the baseball team in town. It's like, doing what? Like, well, every now and then the pitchers don't really want to walk, so I drive them across the field. No, I think that feels like if they could streamline it to make it an easier thing, you could totally flip the script on the like ride a Zamboni during a hockey game. And like one lucky fan could be the driver of the motorcade. I know there's clear risk involved in that, but at the same time, like it's driving from point A to point B and then back to point A. Like that's doable.
But you also have to make sure the battery is fully charged. Like I don't know. I just found it to be it might not be entertaining to everybody else, but I found that to be incredibly fun to read and be like, okay, somebody in a Major League Baseball franchise had to put this together and put it online seriously. I thought it was fun. The other thing that I wanted to share was from this past weekend. I had a really fun Saturday, though a clusterfuck of a Saturday. I had a very fun Saturday. So wake up, head over to Streamwood, Illinois to call a college football game for Judson University. Call that one. It was an exciting game. There was a kid who rushed for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. Just a world breaker type of day. It was rumbling all over the place. Super fun. After that, drove through traffic. By the way, I have to say that I-90, I-94, I-290, and I-294 in Illinois are all separate layers of hell. They are all separate layers of hell.
The dead to me list grows even
The dead to me list grows. The dead to me list grows. All 4 of those highways in northeastern Illinois can all just die. So we drive obviously on one of those 4 highways to Chicago, the Ritz-Carlton. I have the opportunity to host an event for a camp that I've been attending for 15 years in one way or another. And it was, number one, incredibly rewarding. I've been going to this specific event for this camp for probably 6 years in a row that it's been in person. The past 2 years have not been in person. I get to host it for the very first time. The gentleman who hosted it before me for so many years was Dan Bernstein, who, if you're unfamiliar, is in my eyes, an icon in Chicago sports radio. And I'm probably being too wordy tonight, but in short, we ended up setting a new record for money raised. I got to host this event that I've gone to for years, and now I'm in a position where I'm enough of a professional in radio and in just talking that they trust me with these things. And it was a kind of a surreal night, and I was very happy to have done it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that. I remember you having mentioned this, like just experience in general. I didn't realize it had been virtual the last couple of years. So that's, I imagine a program like this has to just be exponentially more special when you're like looking people in the eyes, human to human in the real world, right?
Yeah. Well, and like I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, like I did, but like we ended up raising over $500,000 to send kids with cancer to camp.
That's amazing.
It's incredible, dude. And like it certainly is it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling. And at the same time, I got to see our good buddy Luke Stratman as well. So Luke, I know you're watching. Hello. And thanks for being a supporter as always. He's somebody I went to camp with as a kid. Now as adults, he's a coach at Deerfield High School with the football team and all that. So it was fun to see him and a big supporter of the show. So
Nice.
I cease my ranting. Give me your win.
Oh, I almost wish you had done that in the opposite order because I don't have anything nearly as awesome to follow that one up with. I my biggest win from the last week. Well, actually, I have one small win and then another small win. So
That's
the first
fine.
one is
We got space to fill, bro.
on Saturday. I also was the host of a unique event. It
Okay.
was the first time I had hosted a private trivia event. I have a weekly trivia show that I host at like just a bar in the area that I've been doing for like 8 months now, I think. And the organization I work for does private events, and they reached out. There was one in your area, and we want you to host it. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do it. I hadn't done it before. It was just 25 to 35 people at a church on a Saturday night having their like annual potluck dinner. And they're like, yeah, we want to make it a trivia night. And they were super accommodating and really nice. And I'm like, oh, that was sweet. So, check that on the list.
What kind of trivia do you do at a church?
It was general knowledge. There was a
Okay.
little bit of me hoping when I got the question set sent to me that like there was going to be some sort of religiously risque question. Like, I don't know, maybe we get like a Judaism question or like an Islam question, but no, it was just general, a lot of like history and music, sports, things like that. Not a big sports crowd there, so we might have done better. And then the other small win in the sports world is my betting bank accounts have been lifted a little bit by DFS, which is something daily fantasy sports, right? That's the like players have salaries and you're creating a lineup and trying to get as many points on whatever day it is. It could be any day of the week, any sport. I mean, NFL, you only have certain days. But I've kind of just randomly been playing those because they're missions to get like reward points at the place. And I'm like, okay, so I'll try these. And they've been unpredictably successful for a thing that I try and stay away from because I don't really know DFS. So maybe as that moves along, maybe that's something that we could start to engage more. But otherwise, no, we're
Little
sticking
daily
to
fantasy.
yeah. I mean, it's working. I had one of my most exciting wins on that was a hockey one, and I know nothing about hockey. I did a head-to-head with a guy. He was crushing me. It was like Kings against the Wild. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm not even going to take a goalie. I'm just going to load up on skaters. It was 0-0 with like 4 minutes left in the game. And I'm like, okay, the only way I can win is if this specific dude who I named my captain and gets like double points scores a goal. And so I just gave up. I looked the next morning. That dude scored the game-winning goal. And so I'm like, oh,
Whoa.
all right, maybe I do know something about
Hey,
hockey.
let's do that hockey.
I could not tell you this hero of my team's name, but
That's awesome.
he's on either the Kings or the Wild, and so thank you to that guy. But no, otherwise things have just been smooth sailing. So
That's kind of the way I feel too, except for, last week we talked about the conundrum of this tin can that I'm living in currently. Things are on the up and up. I will say, as we move into intercepted at the goal line, I made a monumental mistake. So like I said, we were gone for the weekend. We actually ended up staying in Chicago, my girlfriend and I staying in Chicago, and the poor person came out in me when we went to go leave the house. I was like, I'm not paying to heat this thing while we're gone. Absolutely not. Knowing well that this place isn't insulated well.
and it's getting cold in Chicago.
And it's getting extremely cold. Namely, on Saturday when we were gone, it was very, very cold. But I said in my head, self, we're gonna turn this off. We're not gonna turn it down. Turning it down probably made more sense, but I turned it off. And when we left, she's like, "Hey, you turned that down, right?" I said, "I turned it off." She goes, "Why didn't you just turn it?" You get where I'm headed here. I turned it off. We came home and we could see our breaths in the home in this place that we're in, and it was obviously a boneheaded mistake, but something that I did.
But that's like, everybody dreams of first snow in Chicago, and it's so pretty, and the winter wonderland vibes, the Hallmark movies. I mean, what's more romantic than coming home with your partner and you just breathe winter, right? I think that's a beautiful sight. And you wouldn't have known it if you had turned down the heat instead of off.
That's very true. I think we're still recovering from how cold it was in here. There's areas, little pockets of the house that are just like so cold right here.
Oh no, today was the first time I really noticed it wasn't snowing when I was outside, but there was a more substantial amount of snow on the ground than I had seen. Like, all right, so it's prepping up for winter. But today was like 37 or 38. So like I went to go get lunch and I'm walking in. I'm like, I don't need to wear socks and shoes. Like I'll just slide on some Crocs. It's not that cold. It's just like 37. We're fine. Put a hoodie on, you're good to go.
No, it was pretty cold today. And this is what is today? Tuesday, the 15th. It was a cold day here in northern Illinois, that's for sure. And I'm a little bit even more north of you now, where it snowed considerably, and then all of a sudden it was gone. I just can't stand that about winter. Do you have an intercepted at the goal line, sir?
I do, but now you've got me curious because I didn't realize that you were north of me, and I don't really know Illinois geography. Oh yeah, you are a little bit north. Okay, cool.
Rockford, I'm on the state line.
Yeah. All right.
The state line's country. 95-3 the Bull.
All right. My intercepted at the goal line. Self plug. It's going to be renamed fumbled at the goal line because one of the most spectacular finishes, I would say, to a game that we've had in quite some time was the Vikings at the Bills in the NFL, which included a highlight play of a player fumbling at the goal line, albeit their own goal line, which really doesn't quite as much speak to the spirit of the segment, or at least the name of it. But Josh Allen just needed to get the ball out of the end zone so that they don't give up a safety. In hindsight, a safety wouldn't have been bad because the Bills were up by 3. And so if you give up 2, you give the Vikings the ball back with less than a minute left, maybe they come down and kick a field goal, but maybe they don't, and you still win by 1. Instead, Josh Allen, trying to sneak it out of the end zone, loses the ball before he can even get to the goal line. Ball drops, recovered by the Vikings. That ends up being a defensive touchdown. And that is about the worst possible scenario for a team up 3. You always think of that, right? At least that's my mind. Anytime I see a team backed up on their own 1-yard line or closer, I'm like, this could be a safety.
This can't end well. This
could be a safety. There's 2 outcomes you're rooting for. You either want a safety because it's rare, or you want the rare 99-yard touchdown because it's hilarious. And we didn't get either. We somehow got an even rarer thing. And so Vikings end up winning that game 33-30 in overtime. Costly mistake. Bills drop to 3rd in the division. Allen drops out a front runner for MVP. People are questioning, is his elbow okay? If he just gets it to the 1-yard line, we don't have to talk about any of that.
Yeah, no, it was a season-altering play. That's one of those ones that it's going to stick in the crawl of the Bills and their fans for probably the rest of the season, because it was a pretty significant loss, especially considering how they went down to the Jets a couple of weeks ago as well. So,
and even the Dolphins, when they had lost earlier in the season, was a game that you felt like was probably winnable.
And now the only team that everybody was certain was good has lost 3 questionable games, and we're not sure that now anybody is actually good in the NFL this year. We're not sure about any of it.
All right, so does that segue us into NFL? Is that our transition? Okay.
Before we get into NFL Week 10, I want to pause real quick and say hey to Tyler Witt.
Hey, what's going on? This is an update from me, Tyler Witt, in the Grey Cup. We are currently in Saskatchewan. Regina is the city. I'm in the hotel room. It's pretty cold out. We got a lot of snow on the ground. Pretty busy schedule today. We flew out here. We got settled in our hotel. We got the itinerary for the week. A lot of media stuff later in the week for some of the players. We got practice at an off-site field. And then later in the week, we get to practice in Mosaic Stadium, which is where the Saskatchewan Roughriders play. And I'm super excited. It's a super fun thing that I get to be a part of. We get to play against a good team, Toronto. So it's all exciting. It's super cool. I'm so sorry I couldn't be a part of the podcast today, but just know next week, hopefully I'll be a Grey Cup champion. So cheers. Go Blue Bombers.
Thanks, Tyler. We're back, and it was pretty cool to see the Grey Cup site.
Yeah, man, that is an unbelievable insight and experience that maybe someday in my life I'll get to see, but probably not. I'm definitely in the wrong country at the moment, but no, still pretty cool for Tyler.
Very cool for Tyler. And now let's get into NFL Week 10. We start with a 1-point rundown. Atlanta at Carolina on Thursday Night Football. If the main story is they stopped Marcus Mariota, it probably was a snoozer. Falcons 15, Panthers 25. Seattle at Tampa Bay. That pass play to Tom Brady blew up quicker than the Hindenburg.
Oh,
Seattle 16.
my God.
Bucks 21. New Orleans at Pittsburgh. This game was for the birds. Saints 10, Steelers 20. Cleveland at Miami. It's too bad Deshaun couldn't make the trip to Miami. Robert Kraft said he would have loved it there. Browns 17, Dolphins 39. Jacksonville at Kansas City. You thought Juju was odd before? Just wait till he comes back from this concussion. Jaguars 17, Chiefs 27. Houston at New York, the Giants. I honestly had no clue this game was happening. If I can be frank, I did not know this game was happening.
Is that the line or is that the I don't have a line?
No, that's the line. That's the line. I just did not know this game was happening. Texans 16, Giants 24. The G-Men. Denver at Tennessee. This was this week's game of the week. Broncos 10, Titans 17. Minnesota at Buffalo. Justin Jefferson may have made the best catch in the last 5 years, and also what a finish. Vikings 33, Buffalo Bills 30. They couldn't circle the wagons this week. Indianapolis at Las Vegas. The only way to get his talisman back was for Jonathan Taylor to play Josh Jacobs and dominate in the yardage category. Colts 25, Raiders 20. Arizona at the Rams. Colt McCoy versus John Wolford. Sounds like an election between a young progressive man from Texas and the oldest, saggiest man from Connecticut. Cardinals 27, Rams 17. Dallas at Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers' haircut makes me think he should have played in Germany this week. Oh. Cowboys 28, Packers 31. Chargers at 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo is now 10-2 in games in which he throws 0 touchdown. This is a man who has made over $123 million in his career. Chargers 16, 49ers 22. Coming to the end as we go Detroit at Chicago. Cole Kmet is starting to look like Diamond Kmet. 5 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Detroit 31, Chicago 30. And finally, Monday Night Football, Philly at Washington. If life is coming after you, curl up into a ball. Life is still going to hit you, but you may still win. Washington 32, Philly 21. That is the 1-point rundown.
Can I ask why did you question some of the scores? Why was it the Bears 30? Is that 30? Like a I'm trying to figure that out.
I did it for Green Bay, and I liked the way it sounded, and it made more sense for Green Bay because it was like a shocking game that happened. And I did it for the Bears, and it didn't make any fucking sense.
Okay, so it wasn't just me then. And I also was trying to figure out Colt McCoy. I would guess that he's the Texas guy, but there's no way a man who goes by Colt is progressive, right?
You never know.
Like, definitely died at the Alamo.
He remembers.
Oh no, there were some.
John Walford definitely sounds like the oldest, saggiest man from Connecticut.
That's just this uncalled for. I mean, this poor guy, man. He's fought to get back in the NFL. Actually, not back in. He was on an NFL practice squad, and then he was AAF, and now he's back NFL. I think I'm not totally sure on that. But no, okay. Let's see. So what were the games that were worth mentioning? Did I miss the Saints Steelers one?
Yeah, I said this game was for the birds.
Oh,
All the pigeons.
yeah, fine. I was
But
hoping
also-
maybe there could be some inspiring words about New Orleans' future because I'm not able to find them. So need them from somewhere. Falcons Panthers. I couldn't tell you that one. We start off Thursday night, right? That was a game that was expected to not be great, and then the team that was expected to lose won, and nobody cared. I was in the middle of a movie theater watching Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I checked the score at the end. And I'm like, oh, Falcons are losing. Okay, and that's the division that I should be caring about the most, but I don't even really care what happens.
I feel like that was a game that, like, if either team won and it was like 12-10, you'd be like, yep, that's right.
So, okay, let's briefly talk about Thursday Night Football.
Let's do
Because I think Thursday Night Football gets the reputation of like it's the horrible game, gross game, like we just have trash games all the time. In a perfect scheduling world, we want the Thursday night game to be like middle of the pack, right? Like I think I would want Thursday night to be 7th or 8th best game. Like the Falcons Panthers is 100% a noon game. Like it should be buried in the schedule.
Sure.
And it definitely fits the model of, oh, it's a garbage game. Like, let's just throw it on Thursday night and no one's going to like it that much. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know, like Chiefs Jaguars feels like a pretty good Thursday night game that like, give me a good team and a bad team. What are your thoughts on Thursday night?
I mean, I guess I'm kind of with the populace here that I think that it's probably just really a throwaway game. And I think more than a throwaway game, it's an easier way to get bad teams in a primetime game, right? Like you want your Sunday Night Football to be one of the best matchups of the week. That's why it's typically a flex spot. You can flex a game late on Sunday, and teams typically will not protest. Monday Night Football kind of gets stuck in a similar category as Thursday Night Football because sometimes it gets just stuck with some bad matchups. But for the most part, you get some pretty good matchups on Monday night. Thursday Night Football is the last thing added to all of this. And there's obviously legacy stations involved with the other big games of the week. Obviously, Fox's game of the week. CBS doesn't have anything, but NBC has Sunday Night Football. ESPN has Monday Night Football. Even when it was on NFL Network, and even when it was being covered by Fox, it was just kind of a throwaway thing because the NFL knew they could make money on that day. And so they really just, I think, put garbage teams on that day. So I guess I'm fine with there being garbage games on Thursday because it's football and we're all little piggies that are going to eat that slop up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I get functionally it's, we got to get everyone primetime games. I think everybody plays on Thursday night over the course of the year, but no, I like because I know I'm going to watch that game, whereas like at noon, I'm going to be watching Red Zone, or if there's a couple really good games, I might just flip between those two. Like I would rather this sort of game just be hidden. And like Chiefs Jaguars is an example. I'm looking, there had to be something else this week. Chargers 49ers happened to be this because of all the injuries and stuff. But like those are games where, okay, they're teams I kind of want to watch. And Thursday night does get me excited for the week. Between watching the storylines, the news, the betting, the fantasy, all of it, it's like, okay, here we go. Weekend is on the way. And Falcons Panthers made Sunday feel so far away.
Believe it or not, I think that there was maybe two games that could have worked for Thursday Night Football this week. Seattle and Tampa Bay. Like,
well, worked for which model? My proposal of Thursday night, you're saying?
No, I'm just saying in the current idea of Thursday Night Football, Seattle and Tampa Bay would have worked perfect. With the knowledge that we have here in Week 10, would have worked perfect for a Thursday night game. Maybe more perfect than that. Indy at Las Vegas would have been just for Thursday Night Football.
Oh, I was definitely when you said what would have been perfect, one game jumped right in my head, and it was Broncos Titans. Which you kind of
too, yeah.
You kind of even mentioned it in your little one pointer. Tennessee's 6-3. and they're so dull. Like, I continue to not have any interest. That's why, I mean, part of it, maybe, I don't know, am I salty because I thought the Colts would be better and, like, I have stake in the Titans not being so great, but part of it's like, if Derrick Henry doesn't have like 200 rushing yards, like Ryan Tannehill's not getting 200 passing yards. Malik Willis came into the play for one game, lost yards, and fumbled. That's like the future of this franchise.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys, offense and defense, who you're like, oh yeah, I guess that, yeah, I've heard of this guy, but like you couldn't just name him off the top of your head. So the Titans, they're not necessarily fraudulent in their record versus ability, but they definitely are fraudulent when you look and you're like, oh, a 6-3 team, that should be good. Like, no, I don't want to see them play anyone.
I think their defense has performed better than a lot of people thought they would this year. And surprisingly, the offense hasn't. If Derrick Henry wasn't Derrick Henry this year, that offense would be in a very peculiar situation because the passing game has been lackluster, to say the absolute least about it. But you know, they're keeping their heads above water. And are they playing in the worst division in football? Yes.
They literally right now are the prime example of all you have to do is beat the teams who are worse than you, and if you lose the ones who are better, you're fine. Because their losses are to the 7-2 Giants, the 6-3 Bills, and the 7-2 Chiefs. Those are their 3 losses. And then their wins are Indy, Houston, Indy again, Vegas, Washington, whoever Denver. I mean, this just I would be fine if the Titans somehow just got like snapped out of the league. I don't think I would notice.
They're just kind of a I like that. They just blip them away, snap them away. They're gone forever. What did we think about the NFL in Germany for the first time?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I love the prospect of NFL being more international for a number of reasons. One of which is because I like American football in its NFL capacity, I would like to see the NFL grow, whether that's more teams in the NFL or just more. Essentially, you're handcrafting primetime games by creating these island setups in different time zones in different countries. But I think it's the growth of the game internationally would be good because you see it in baseball. Like, remember early COVID when people were watching baseball, even though MLB wasn't going on?
The KBO.
That's because of international sports. Soccer is one, like we have soccer here, but people like the international scene. Basketball, FIBA people watch the like FIBA World Cup and different FIBA international events. So I think it's good for the sport if they can grow internationally. And I like the idea of the very, very weak cultural exchange. Like, I'm okay if NFL Network and these Twitter accounts are posting like, here's a list of all the German players in the NFL, or like, here's some fun facts about American football in Germany. Like, cool. I kind of want to learn that. I'm sick of seeing London, London, London every time. Let's get some new cities going.
Totally. I'm down with that. I mean, we have Mexico City on Monday Night Football next week, which will be fun. I think they've done that once before.
Twice, maybe. I think we've had two international.
Okay, it's possible. Apparently, Germany is going to be a fixture of the future for the NFL, so I think that's pretty cool. I think that I think that overall it's a good thing too. Like, growing the game internationally is a great way to go. And when you list off all those other sports that are already international sports, it's fun to see the thing that's literally called American football by other countries expand to other countries, and get that, I guess, international and worldly recognition that I think it deserves. I mean, the product that they put out, we don't sit around for 7 hours on a Sunday for no reason at all. We sit around because the product that they put out is top notch. And so for other people to get to experience that firsthand and not just through a screen, I think is pretty important. And I think it's pretty cool. Like, it just shows how much sports bring people together. I think at the core of all of it, why anybody loves sports is that it brings people together.
Yeah, and I think the NFL, from a like business tactic standpoint too, is going to be able to capitalize on that by being at the front of this. Is like, we might not get, GFL, like German Football League. It might end up being like NFL Germany or NFL Europe, right? So they'll also, because the one fear would be right now the NFL has no competition, right? The XFL, I guess, is trying, but even that, like, they know they can't compete. They're trying to coexist. And so if it's going to grow, it kind of has to be under the eyes of the NFL. But no, I'm excited for it. I hope that it continues. I also think the last point I want to touch on is we need to grow the player pool. How many times have we complained about there aren't 32 good starting quarterbacks in the NFL, or like, how can we not find a half a dozen consistently good kickers? Like, Well, when you think about it, you go, can we get 32 quarterbacks out of 7 billion people? But it's not out of 7 billion. It's out of like 300 million because there are a couple dozen distant international players in the NFL. So let's get the talent pool opened up too, right? People are athletic all over the world.
Yeah, but I still think that there would be a latency period on that, right? Like there would still be a significant delay on when you see those guys start to come in, because I mean, you might even be talking like 2 decades before you get like a significant like NFL level quarterback from a different country where American football isn't regularly played. Like you're talking about investing the time and money and then having somebody play that sport in that position long enough to be good enough for when they go to college to, you know what I mean? Like there's so much, I don't want to use grooming, but there's so much like cultivation that has to happen in order for you to ever even get to that level. So I like the prospect of it. I think that in our lifetimes, we will probably see an attempt to do something like that, where there is maybe even a team stationed overseas somewhere. I think that would be a pretty tricky thing to do scheduling
That would
wise,
be hard.
but still, like I think that I think that it's possible for something like that to occur.
I'm looking briefly at a list of foreign players in the NFL. And I mean, okay, there's a bunch from Canada. For the sake of discussion, I'm not really considering that one too much. But I'm looking like there are some relevant players who are from other countries in ways where like I'd say the name and you would say, yeah, I've heard of them. Like Young Wei Koo, for example, for a period of time was one of the top kickers. You have some like dual nationality, Amon-Ra and Equinemius St. Brown, dual
Both
nationality.
German.
Yeah, German US. There's some, like I said, a bunch of guys from Canada, Mitch Wishnowsky from Australia. Actually, we have 5 punters currently in the NFL who are from Australia. So
Yeah, it's
that makes sense.
it
Michael
has to, does it
Dixon,
have to do something that correlates with rugby? Maybe that.
and Aussie rules football too. Like they
Oh
do
yeah,
have their version. Daniil Hunter is from Jamaica. So yeah, I mean, you've got guys already that are representing, and so I agree there would be some sort of delay on like big top talent, but I'm ready
but
for
I
a
mean,
change.
look at the way the NBA revolutionized, right? Like there was a period of time where everybody in the NBA was from America.
American. Hmm.
And now it's one of the most recognized international sports out there. And I think it must be that all 30, is it 30 or 32 NBA teams have a foreign-born player on their team. Like that
Probably.
has to be a stat.
Yeah, well, and you think like if I said, all right, without really thinking too hard, who are the top 10 players in the NBA? Like, guess who you're going to mention? You're going to mention
Right.
Nikola Jokic from Serbia. You're going to mention Luka Doncic from Slovenia. You're going to mention Giannis, whose nickname is the Greek Freak.
Right.
So it's like we have top talent there. And baseball has top talent from an international scene. Hockey obviously also has top talent. Now, if you are not counting Canada, they still are getting a good chunk of European players. The NFL is really the only
One of their
league
greatest
that has
players
all
of all
these
time is Russian, right? Like it's only a matter of time, I think is what you were saying, before the
Mhm.
NFL is on that same level where they're pulling from a global talent pool instead of just the national talent pool. Though it is a pretty good national talent pool for this sport that we call football.
I don't know. Is it though? Like think like if you just grew up
Totally.
watching if you grew up just watching like MLS or something, you're like, "Oh, these guys are like the best in the country." And then all of a sudden you started watching like Premier League, you'd be like, "Oh, shoot." Like I don't know. I wonder if I find a
Yeah,
way to
but
watch
like,
some like
but
highlights of
there's
like
a juxtaposition right there. Is like they play and invest in soccer in Europe. We don't here. We just simply don't.
right.
We play and invest in American football here. Other countries do not. Like this is still the best player pool for American football talent. I think that it's probably still the best player pool for it might still be the best player pool for basketball and even for baseball to some extent.
I'd have to think on that one. I'd have to think about that.
It would be closer for baseball, but for basketball, like I typically think that the players here are still better at basketball than
Yeah.
most overseas players, right?
Basketball it seems like a pretty easy one. And NFL, it's not really fair, right?
Yeah,
That's just
totally.
something else.
So I'm looking at the rest of these games. I don't know that there's anything specifically that we need to touch on. I do think that it was a gigantic week for upsets, and it was a very fun and entertaining week of football. You look at Minnesota beating Buffalo. That was an upset for sure. You look at Green Bay finding a way to beat Dallas at home. That was a gigantic upset. You've got Detroit, technically in the books. Detroit beating Chicago was an upset. Washington beating Philly is probably the biggest surprise of the week because Washington has been dead to a lot of people for a lot of weeks. The Eagles have looked unbeatable. They've looked like world breakers in so many games. And yesterday they just came out and couldn't do anything. And I think that it was accurately assessed by Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the broadcast. It was a control of time of possession in the first half. And in the second half, it was just really timely capitalization on poor plays by the Eagles. But just an incredible game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair because when you look at what was going on, when it was going on, circumstances matter. But the Eagles, and part of it is the average quality of team in the NFL, but they haven't had a ton of super quality wins. Like, that's been the suspicious part of this record is like, okay, you beat Detroit, Washington, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Houston. Those aren't teams where I'm like, all right, that team's for sure good. They got a good win over the Cowboys, and they have a win that has aged amazingly over Minnesota. That they crushed Minnesota, and at that time, everyone's like, well, yeah, the Vikings are worse. But now those are the two teams at the top of the NFC. So I think the Eagles, they're still on track where, they've got 2 games against the Giants, and in some fashion, that'll probably decide the division since the Giants are just 1 game back. And then they've got the Cowboys, and I guess maybe the Packers are relevant again on their schedule, Titans. So they could still lose a couple more, but this definitely hurt their inside track on getting the number 1 overall seed, which is more important in today's NFL than in the past because there's only 1 first-round bye. And so,
it's paramount. It's paramount to get that.
You need that.
Very fun week of the NFL. Obviously, we've got week 11 coming up. Trade deadline for a lot of leagues out there, including ours that gets mentioned on this podcast is what I was going to say. Podcast quite a bit.
Wait, did anything happen in our league this week that would have involved the 2 of us?
No, I don't. I can't think that there was. Was there something that
I don't remember? Something about one of our teams being better than the other in a head-to-head styled thing, but that's not too important.
So no, but I will fill everybody in just so they're not like, what the hell are they talking about? Jack and I played one another in fantasy football this week. We were tied in the standings, and he was 3rd, I was 4th, and we played each other this week. And Jack got the best of me. These boys of mine on this fantasy team of mine, they just quit on me. And Jack let me know about it. And, I typically don't like talking about fantasy football in this capacity because nobody really gives a shit. Like, people try to talk to me about their fantasy teams all the time. And I'm like, wow, that's a crazy trade, man. I can't believe it. Like, the only people that your fantasy league matters to typically are your fantasy league mates.
And me. I will listen. I want to know about your fantasy team. I hate that no one cares. That's not untrue at all. Oh, no. Tell me, we've got, send it all into the official Hangin Banners social accounts, right? Don't send it to me. Make Ryan pass them along to me from the administrative side. But I want to hear about everybody who's listening to this. I want to hear about everyone's fantasy teams. Show me your trades. Show me your rosters. I want to know.
At Hangin Banners on Twitter and on Instagram. Send them our way. Jack wants to see them. Maybe we'll talk about them on the Sunday show that we've got coming back to Instagram this week. Promise. Scouts Honor. I was never in the Scouts, but Scouts Honor. I think that's how you do
fingers? There's 2? Or is it like maybe when you get older, you add a finger or something?
I don't know. Like this. No. Thank you very much. Thank you very much is next. And we got 2 of them today. So I want to start with this. Taylor Swift tickets have just gone live, at least with a pre-sale code. You could go on there. You could try your hand at getting Taylor Swift tickets. She's out on her new tour, the Eras Tour. She's coming to Chicago in like June or something like that. And she broke Ticketmaster. She literally broke Ticketmaster. People were waiting in queues. There were probably millions of people waiting, maybe millions, either way, of people waiting to get these Taylor Swift tickets. Certainly hundreds of thousands of people were waiting. She broke Ticketmaster. So I ask Jack Coachman, what is the only event you can think of that would shut down Ticketmaster?
Well, so you kind of mentioned it, right? Like there's essentially a virtual line of people that are waiting for this one certain thing. And this case, it's Taylor Swift, but it could be something else. The only time I can remember people waiting in line for something that I personally didn't really care about, and it was days that they were willing to wait for, was the Queen's funeral. If they ticketed that event, dude, the English economy would just be gone. I mean, that was on the news for like 72 hours, and they're like, if you're waiting in line, like you might not be able to go to the bathroom. If you step out of line, your spot may go just to visit the casket. So that's what I choose here. I think the visitation of the Queen's casket is the only event I could think of that would shut down Ticketmaster.
That is that's a great answer. That's probably the right answer if we're thinking about it. Extremely timely. Good job, Jack. God damn it. That's why we keep you around. I said something dumb. I was like, what's another big concert? Woodstock? Woodstock. But also, hold on, has the element of like something big that happened that I don't genuinely probably care about, but was still important to some people out there, kind of a specific thing, niche thing. It was Woodstock.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's actually probably a pretty good answer. And you have to factor in too, right? That as opposed to British people and their adoration for the Queen, or Taylor Swift fans and their adoration for Taylor Swift, at Woodstock, you're dealing with a group of people who might not currently, at the time of trying to get tickets, be in the greatest place of mind where they're totally lucid in what's going on. So they might break it down. If not for quantity, the customer service lines would be just off the hook.
Hey, man, we're just trying to get tickets, man.
Oh, dude, every conversation just twice as long as it needs to be. No, I wouldn't want to be there for it. That's a good answer, though. I like it.
Yeah, what's that? I even to some extent thought if they ticketed the Cubs parade, that would probably be something that would have broke Ticketmaster, given the window of time that needed needed to happen and how many people showed. I think it was like a 5 million people. God, it's a tough time right now. A 5 million person turnout.
I will. I'll clean this one up with one last very literal interpretation of the prompt. I'm going to say Y2K. Y2K is the only event that I could think of that would shut down the digital ticketing platform. All right, what else do we got for blank you very much?
You nailed it. Also, I'm noticing now in the little header that I
wasn't going to say it.
Ticketmaster.
Wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, we're going to mark that on the wall as another fuck up
Halloween.
for me.
Halloween is the only event I could think of that would shut down that many masks. The release of COVID protocols would shut down mass masking. All right, come on. What's the next prompt? I don't know whether to say I'm trying or I'm not trying, but we're moving is what I do know. Tyler, we miss you, man.
Where's this man? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Actually, whoa. We just got a message from Tyler. He said he's number 10,438 in line for Taylor Swift. So congratulations, Tyler Witt.
Eno Benjamin was cut by the Cardinals this week. Surprisingly, it thought he served pretty well in the stead of James Conner, but he was cut. And Jack, I want to know, I spell Eno Benjamin right? No.
Yes.
I want to know why Eno Benjamin was cut.
I'm going to say it's because of the release in the last couple weeks of a video game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I think that he got caught playing too many video games, and it just wasn't as public that the Cardinals also put in Eno Benjamin's contract at the same time as Kyler Murray's. Hey, sorry, man, you can't be playing video games that much during the season. Well, Kyler's too good of a player, too high profile. They had to adjust it. Nobody ever tweaked Eno's contract, and so he's gone, but you can catch him on Twitch Wednesdays and Fridays.
Never forgotten. I want to say it's because Eno Benjamin didn't know how to spell, because I feel like I should be cut from this podcast for my atrocities today. Jesus Christ.
Oh, wait, that's not your answer though, right?
I mean, that's
gotta have
probably what
some-
I'll submit for now.
Oh no, you gotta have something cooking for Benjamin.
I just want you and I as a brain trust to create a conspiracy for why he was cut. So let's start with something. So let's think. Let's create a conspiracy theory. I would like to think that this had something to do. I've used the crypto bit too many times already.
Oh yeah, we've got banner coin still. Forgot about
We
that.
do still have banner
Yeah,
coin.
at Hangin Banners on Twitter and Instagram if you want in. Okay, here's a conspiracy.
Okay.
So there's a very, very prominent running back in college football right now. His name is Bijan Robinson, right? He's
Okay.
supposed to be this elite, super talented, like going to be a first rounder, locked for the NFL draft. Obviously, he doesn't get hurt or anything like that. He plays for the University of Texas, who's been good, but not great, which means we might see less of him approaching bowl season, which means we may see less of him heading into the combine, which means his draft stock could fall. So the Cardinals, being a mediocre team, are already forecasting that he will be a mid-teens pick, not like a high early, top 10 pick. They're trying to make sure that they have the exact right record and room for a running back. And so that's why they're winning some games. They're losing some. They lose with Kyler. They win with Colt. They don't want Eno. James Conner might be gone after the season. They're working for Bijan Robinson.
So Eno Benjamin was cut by the Cardinals because Bijan Robinson. I
Yeah.
like it.
There we go. That's the best conspiracy I could come up with.
Thanks for working double time for me today, partner. I very much appreciate it.
Got it.
And we'll now move on to, I'm sure, the next misspelled banner. No, it's spelled right, at least for the context of this podcast. Low hanging fruit is next. And I would like to bring to the table the NBA City Edition jerseys, specifically the ones that are supposed to be worn by the Charlotte Hornets, which on the front, the letters adorning their chests are CLT.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Okay.
had the internet ablaze because it is obviously one letter away from
From
clit.
Cult. Oh. Okay, I'm sure you guys heard what he said. Doesn't bear repeating. Definitely just pause for a moment if you're listening with your kids.
You think people with kids are listening to this?
Yeah, I would listen. I would listen with kids.
You don't have kids.
But if I did, I don't see why they couldn't listen. Anybody can hang a banner. Doesn't matter how old you are. All right, so
This is great marketing.
not a great look for Charlotte is what you're telling me. And I pulled up an image of the jerseys, and luckily it doesn't bear striking literal resemblance, but it's that the old, I'll say early 2010s memes of showing something that looks similar to something that you would not want to be caught seeing. And it's like, oh, you dirty mind, you filled in the blank with this letter.
It's like a
that's
Freudian
exactly what
slip.
it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Michael
it had-
Jordan at the top of this organization, by the way.
It had everybody on Twitter just making, it's Twitter, right? It's our small little cesspool that everybody hangs out in, and they were calling these jerseys elusive. Nobody can find them on the shelves. Nobody can seem to find them at all, just because everybody was making clit jokes.
Fun fact about the Charlotte Hornets: even though Gordon Hayward is currently out with an injury, he was thinking about coming back playing in these jerseys and going by the nickname G Spot. On an unrelated note, by the way.
That was a good one. Yeah, okay.
See, but you got to have the level, right? It's because we know sports that we can do that. Gordon Hayward previously played for a team that also might come to mind if you just saw the letter CLT, because it's one letter away from Celt. He was a Boston Celtic. So it's all about Gordon.
You're wicked smart, Jack. You're wicked smart.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't think I had any for low hanging fruit, so that's why I just went for some cheapo people are going to groan at jokes, because that literally is what low hanging fruit is. So I guess that's my contribution, and I was going to take some Taylor Swift angle, but I feel like we dug into that one enough. I'm just thinking. All right, so here's the question. Your favorite musical artist. I'm not a big concert goer, so this probably wouldn't apply to me as much, but I know you've been to your fair share of concerts. If I told you that you were 2,000th in queue to get a ticket to see, this is a wrong segment, blank. Is there any artist that you would be willing to like wait for hours and hours hoping that you get to see them?
No.
Right? Like,
No.
I
I would even say that there's no event that I would wait hours online to go see.
yeah, like I mean,
I wouldn't wait
a
in
World
line. I
Series
wouldn't.
game,
No, I don't think I would.
right? So that to me, that
I can
there's
watch
not
it
a
on the
lot of like,
TV. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, like the Super Bowl
thank
would
you.
be like fun to go to, but football is way more fun to watch on the couch than it is in the stadium.
Yes.
I don't think that there is an event in the world that I would spend hours in a queue for.
Yeah. So I don't have a bunch of, low jokes. I did see, however, that Taylor Swift and Ticketmaster were trending over World War III, which some people were thinking on Twitter, like, oh my gosh, is that really the state of the world where people are more concerned about this? But I would strike back and say, I've seen World War III trending on Twitter like 400 times in the last 8 years, and I haven't seen Ticketmaster trending that often. So,
That's
Taylor
true.
Swift, big marketing schemes. Whoever's working on her team, they now have seeped into social media. They're controlling everything. So, that's more a high hanging fruit. Is you really got to think about who's pulling these strings.
It's crazy that the guy who talks the least on this podcast is gone, and somehow we're gonna wrap up this podcast in under an hour and 10 minutes.
No, oh wait. I mean, if we're going for 90, I could push you to 90. You want me to come up with
No.
conspiracy?
How deep are you gonna go?
You want some more Hornets players' nicknames?
No, and obviously it's all love and respect to Tyler, who will be back next week when we record the podcast. But how about we wrap things up? Obviously, my brain's not functioning well today. So let's close out the show. Let's do a little hang a banner,
Mhm.
and then we will go our separate ways, my friend. I'll let you hang it first.
Okay. Well, again, it's been a little bit of a show within a show, right? We have to pull some meta things because we're short staffed today, and it really is a like if one man's down, we're all down. We don't really know what to do, except for I didn't get invited to come watch the Grey Cup, so we're not really all together in that way.
True, and neither did I.
Yeah, but keeping that meta nature in mind, I'm gonna hang a banner for timeliness. We've marked some goals of we want to get this show, we want to keep it at a certain point. You can definitely tell, like once you've listened to 90 minutes of our show, it goes further off the rails than it probably previously was. So I'm gonna say I think the banner is being hanged in our names. I'm hanging a banner for Hangin Banners because with the awkward situation, we're in a good spot. I think this show's strong. I think the glimpse of the Grey Cup was cool. Something we're not going to be able to do too often. Once a year, maybe. If I don't know if we could get some connections. So Tyler, do some networking while you're there. But no, I would say this was a good job, Ryan. We've made it this far, and it's going to end even stronger when you hang your best banner of the 9-episode run.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get there. I do want to say too that we get to reach double digits next week for episode numbers. So again, I think you made the joke in episode 7. This is already way longer than we ever thought we would we would go with this. But we're still here. We're still hanging out. We're still having a good time. Though this episode in general is maybe want to retire completely. I am going to hang my banner today and promise that we're back next week with episode 10. And so I will hang my banner for the dude who was flirting with some chick on a college football broadcast by showing off his Costco card membership.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to get an in with a lady. There's a lot of ways to flirt with a woman. Never before have I seen somebody with all the confidence in the world whip out their Costco membership card and say, "This is mine." And then a woman actually give that man the time of day. I think to some extent they are meant to be.
Sounds like a skit. This sounds like a skit now. Who would respond so well to that?
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah, I want to see the video. And I also, sorry to Costco, but I would be much more impressed with a Sam's Club card.
Me too. Right?
I
If you're gonna
don't
buy in
like
bulk,
Costco. I don't like being in Costco. I never
keep
have
going.
liked the
They're
layout
never
of
going.
Costco.
They're never going to sponsor us. So just keep going.
I
Fresh
have
Costco.
never been intrigued by the samples at Costco. I've never felt like the Costco card is anything cool looking. Every time I go to a different wholesaler, a different, buy in bulk place, I'm like, wow, this is logical. The Costco, the food isn't even that great at Costco. It's more novelty than it is good. I could go to Sam's Club for lunch. I couldn't go to Costco for lunch. Although shout out the Costco guy who keeps the hot dogs at like $1 or whatever that ritualistic practice they have is, because I mean, I guess I don't need a hot dog to be very good to eat it. So if we turned Costco into a hot dog stand, I probably would frequent it more often.
All right, man. That was good. That bought me just enough time to send you the video on your Twitter. So go ahead and check it out.
Perfect.
This old computer of mine has been giving me fits lately. I haven't been able to upload anything to show our listeners. So we're working on some things. Promise that episode 10 is going to be a monumental episode.
Wait, is this guy a referee?
No,
Oh,
he's
he's
just
just
dressed up. He's just dressed up. He takes
just
the
dressed like a
Costco
referee?
card out of his pocket and shows the woman, and the woman goes, "Wow!" She's actually like shocked that this college-aged man has a Costco membership, and she goes, "Oh my god!" She's thinking of all the possibilities of the things that she could buy in bulk.
All right, so quick, we're wrapping up with another blank you very much.
Jesus.
If somebody pulled a blank out of their pocket, you would have the reaction that this lady did. Because I'm watching, she's floored. This is like the Costco card's a unicorn or something. Like, I didn't even know those were real. It's just a plastic card.
I think Dr. Seuss and all of his rhyming. I think somebody would literally have to pull a Walket out of their pocket for me to be that excited. Like, what?
Oh, that's what I need. I need a version of that video. I need people to touch it up with like different things.
Walket?
Yeah, dude pulls a Walket out of his pocket. Oh my gosh, it's just Costco, man. Like, all right, well, hang a banner for that, dude. I guess you got it to work. If it works, it works.
And we've hung the banner, and now we cease our ranting altogether as a podcast. We will bring a closed episode 9 at 1 hour and 3 minutes. Who are we? Oh my goodness!
It's going to be like an hour and I'm going to say hour and 19 minutes. That's my guess.
You think we're gonna do a Midwest goodbye at the end of this show?
I think we're in the middle of it, and you're forgetting about Tyler Witt's 16-minute live look-in.
If it was 16, if he is sending me a 16-minute video, I am going to jump from a roof. From the roof of this tin can that I live in, I will jump. I'll be like, oh, awesome. Also, how the hell is he going to send it to me? Anyway.
We didn't talk about sports too much. So next week we got NBA, college basketball, college football, NFL, NHL. We'll cover everything next week.
All the good stuff coming up next week on the Hangin Banners podcast. This is episode 9. I'm Ryan Sartori. That is my good buddy Jack Coachman. Tyler Witt made an appearance today, but he is also a member of this show. And we're all back next week for episode 10. Make sure you're there or you're just a square. And we're out. Peace.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for that look into sports, Brian.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll have one final look at weather. Stay tuned.